Your survival very often in a family depends on the kindness of older siblings. Thank you, Singoi, for your kindness. Diasporians, hamjambo. I'm honored to be here today to speak with you this evening as your Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs. I want to thank you for coming and for representing the around 3,000 Zibalozi of you living here in Belgium. And I am told, and I have seen that some of you are from Luxembourg. As a government, we are well aware and appreciate the efforts you are putting out here as a face representing our rich culture and heritage as you work, do business, and study. Like my brother has said, you really are our foremost diplomats. As diaspora, you share a diverse set of skills and expertise, which cumulatively is the knowledge, capacity, and technological know-how that is much needed everywhere in the world, but that is also needed back home to do the work of nation building and to ensure that Kenya remains on track in its development agenda. By now, you probably know that the State Department is established with a 6-point mandate, which is namely to champion and protect the welfare of rights of Kenyans in the diaspora, to promote continuous dialogue with Kenyans abroad, so what we are doing here, to support Kenyans in the diaspora in harnessing more opportunities for employment and enterprise development, to harness diaspora savings, facilitate investment and technology transfer, to mainstream the Kenyan diaspora into the national development process, and to develop an incentive framework for diaspora remittances, which I'm sure you have probably heard about. Our target is to strive to address the challenges that you face, and you have enumerated them today. IDs, for example, ability to get consular services quickly. Sometimes we get calls for assistance for Kenyans in diaspora and so on. And our plan then is to try as much as possible to address those challenges and build a strong foundation at the rights and welfare level, after which we can elevate our conversation to speak about investments, development, innovation, entrepreneurship, technology transfer, and so on. As the department executes its mandate, we are looking at leveraging the available opportunities abroad, and some of you have already discussed those, including those through yourselves, and we see the diaspora as a critical partner in unlocking those opportunities for brothers and sisters back home, but also for us to support, particularly those of you who are doing business here from home, to build your enterprises, to help you with delivering on trade. To achieve this, and to ensure that you are not left out of these many initiatives, the government is in the process of implementing various measures channeled at incentivizing the diaspora community to be actively involved in nation building. Some of them are ongoing conversations, such as the ones my sister P.S. Manyeni has mentioned. The State Department for Diaspora Affairs has engaged the Central Bank of Kenya and several commercial banks, and we're in conversations with other stakeholders as we target to eliminate some of the bottlenecks that hinder your involvement and investment back home. Really quickly, maybe to mention, for example, that the Central Bank of Kenya, which administers the treasury bills and bonds for government, is now moving completely digital. And from where you sit, you will be able to buy your treasury bills and treasury bonds from an app or from a web platform, basically powered by ICT, which quite simply reduces a 13-step process to something in the palm of your hand. Those of you who do these things probably already know that infrastructure bonds are tax-free, in case you're wondering, and very often return about a 12% interest rate, which I think is good anywhere. We are keen to foster relationships between Kenyan businesses and the diaspora community here in Belgium and Luxembourg. The potential for collaboration between our two communities is immense, and we are confident that by working together, and really supporting the work that's already been done by the associations and by the mission and so on, we'll be able to go further. My brothers and sisters, government is targeting to enhance service delivery through decentralizing services and enhanced use of technology to reach diaspora in different cities. The dream of His Excellency is that you shouldn't have to travel right now to the UK to get an ID. In fact, you shouldn't have to travel to Brussels to get an ID. His vision is that where you live, you should have decentralized services, particularly for biometrics, where you're able then to apply for your IDs and passports without having to come into the mission. This is something that we have been tasked to ensure can be done, and we're working very hard. But in the meantime, you might have heard that we've been flagging off mobile consular services in the Americas in collaboration with the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. We will soon roll out similar mobile consular services in Europe, with Belgium, of course, being one of the countries where we will come and are targeting to expand the number of, as we target to expand the number of government services online. I take this opportunity to inform that some of the services which you have been requesting for, including the processing of Kenyan IDs, will be coming next door to Germany. We don't have authorization for Brussels yet, but we will be having an ID center closer to you here in Germany as a start, following a confirmation by the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. In addition, the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs will continuously engage the diaspora, not just to deal with these issues, but to have the conversations that were started here and are going on around the world about how can we be more involved in leapfrogging the healthcare system, such as I think Nene mentioned. How can we have conversations about volunteering back home? Nene, I think you'll be glad to know, particularly the conversation on volunteering for health workers volunteering back home is a conversation the Ministry of Health and myself have been having, and we are working on something particularly for that. But also, how then to harness more of those conversations. There are conversations going on about healthcare, there are conversations going on about academia, and I think somebody talked about this from EBU, and elsewhere you had these conversations in other parts of, with other diasporas such as in Rwanda and the US, how academics can tap into the open university that we're building back home, and so on. Also, maybe to let you know that the State Department has begun the review of the diaspora policy of 2014, which is something that you have been asking for quite some time. And we will be asking for your participation as we figure out where then this policy should go and what are the issues it should address as we look to grow and better support our diaspora. There's many things to say about tourism and culture and all of the important work that you do. But maybe just to pause for a minute and say, whenever we come to these events, I'm always very proud to see all of the work that you have done and how well you're doing and how you're succeeding out here. It is difficult work to move away from home and succeed. So congratulations, and from home, we are very, very, very proud of you. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, ndugu zangu, as members of the Kenyan diaspora, you're an important stakeholder in our development. Your experiences, your perspectives, your education, your skills can help shape the national conversation on issues that affect our country and our people. The investments some of you made have created job opportunities, promoted economic growth, sparked interesting conversations, supported local businesses, and so on. So let me say that probably I think you have heard about the government's, and this is one of, or maybe one of the really easy ones to plug into. You have heard that part of the government's agenda is to plant 15 billion trees in the next now 9 years to combat climate change. You've heard this? Have you heard this? Yes, yes. Okay, you heard this. Okay. I was just checking that our communication is coming through. We want to know, how can you be a part of that conversation? You're here in Belgium. We're planting trees in, as my boss likes to say, in Kathunzweni or Kitale. But you have a home. How can you be a part of that? How can you support your former school, your church, your neighborhood, as we fight climate change? We have agreed with the state, with the Ministry of Environment and Forestry, that they will allocate us a diaspora forest, where we together can plant trees and begin to combat climate change back home. I'll be coming to you to ask that when we go to your shags, you call your cousins, your aunties, your uncles to come out and plant trees for you and with us, so that together we are able to bring down that, to address climate change in one small way. But also because I'm truly hoping that the State Department for Diaspora Affairs will lead the way in planting trees and combating this particular issue. I want to thank you for your continued support back home, for your support for my office, and for all of the amazing things that you have done, and want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. Asanteni sana. Na sasa nimemaliza yale nimeandikiwa.